Hello everyone and welcome to another Read With Me series. Hope everyone can hear me. So today we are going to discuss chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. The Constitution of Kenya is the basic law of Kenya, and no other law that is inconsistent with this basic legislation will be valid. Okay, so chapter 6 is on leadership and integrity, and the first thing we see here is responsibilities of leadership. Now this part is just going to introduce the what is authority that is given to a state officer, and in what ways is this authority going to be used? Is it going to be are there any principles that govern this authority? What is the process of what is required, or the process of initiating a state officer into his role or her role? So let's get started. So we have authority of a state officer has to be, what is it first? The Article 73 explains or defines what is authority that is given to a state officer. We see that authority is a public trust, okay, that is given to a state officer to serve the people, and this trust should be consistent with the purpose and the objective of the Constitution. So whatever authority a state officer goes through must be in line with the object or the soul of the Constitution, what it's trying to achieve. The second thing is that it must have demonstrate, or it must show respect for the people. It must also bring honor to the nation and dignity to the office that the officer is holding, and also it has to promote public confidence. So basically the responsibilities of leadership, the authority given to a state officer is not for them to rule the public or exert their what do you call, their force or their position, but it's rather to serve, and this service must be in line with the Constitution and what it's trying to achieve. It must also be demonstrating respect for the people and bring honor to the nation and the office and promote public confidence. Okay, now we move on to under the same Article 73. We are talking more now about the authority. After defining it, this authority will be given to the state officer, and it will give him or her the responsibility to serve the people. So it's not a power dynamic. It's not like he's being or she's being given like, you know, the seat to rule the nation, but rather to serve. And this service must be done under certain principles of leadership and integrity, which include a fair selection. So this is fair selection, not on the basis of nepotism or favoritism or discrimination, but on the basis of merit and merit only, on the basis of competence. So a person who is selected as a state officer must be selected when that person is competent, and that person is suitable for the position that they are holding. The election process or selection or nomination must be free and fair. When it comes to the second principle, it's objectivity and impartiality. So whoever is making the decision while holding that office must exercise this decision making in an impartial way. Okay, they must not be swayed by favoritism, as I said, nepotism, tribalism, or any other corrupt practices. Another principle is selfless service based on public interest. So we see here that the element of service for the benefit of the public, the element of selflessness is very much emphasized. Okay, so selfless service on public interest. So you are serving the public and nothing and nobody else or nothing else. Okay, so this service must be selfless, must be honest, must be free from any personal interest or conflict of interest. Okay, also the second last principle is accountability to the public for decisions and actions. So it's not just service, but it's also accountability, where whoever makes that decision at the end of the day must answer for it. Okay, in case the decision is poor, in case the decision has been detrimental to the public interest, they have to answer for that. And finally, the last principle is discipline and commitment. So the service is not just whenever you feel like, but it's more about being disciplined and committing to serving the public. And this commitment and discipline is obviously built over time, because as we all know, habits are really hard to break. So you must be disciplined as a state officer, and you must have commitment to serve the highest good of everyone and not just yourself. Now, moving on, I would like to tell you that every state officer is sworn in. Okay, and that is Article 74. When I was talking about the process of recruiting state officers, apart from the fair selection based on merit, the state officer has to go through a formal process of swearing in. So before sorry, I think I have something stuck in my throat. Please excuse me. Now, before assuming a state office, a state officer must be sworn in. Okay, they will take and subscribe the oath or affirmation of office, okay, in the manner prescribed by the third schedule or under an act of parliament. Let's see the third schedule if we'll be able to see it in time. I normally like to do just refer all these things while I still can. So the third schedule is the oath of office, okay, and it says, and it has a heading of national oaths and affirmations, oath or solemn affirmation of allegiance of the president stroke acting president and the deputy president. So here we have I so and so, I president, okay, I Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. I don't know if I got the name right. In full realization of the high calling I assume as president stroke acting president stroke deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, do swear solemnly. If you don't believe in any religion, it's stroke solemnly affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya. Okay? That I will obey, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of Kenya as by law established and all other laws of the Republic. And that I will protect and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the people of Kenya. So where you swear an oath, you say, so help me God. Now, I think this is what we see in inaugural ceremonies where the president is sworn in. So we have seen that. Now we move on to Article 75, Conduct of State Officers. Now, how are they supposed to carry themselves or their business. Now, Article 71, Subarticle 1, a state officer shall behave, whether in public and official life, in private or in association with others, in a manner which avoids conflict between his or her own personal interest and that of the state, compromising any public or official interest in favor of a personal interest. So no compromise on the public interest versus personal interest. Demeaning the office, so you're not supposed to do anything which demeans the office. A person who contravenes this clause, the ones we mentioned, shall be subject to the applicable disciplinary procedure. So there is also a disciplinary process where a state officer can be subjected to in the case they are found to compromise public interest, to demean the office in any way, or to favor personal interest over public interest. So we have this person who contravenes is subjected to a disciplinary process. Number 2, in accordance with the disciplinary procedure referred to this, he will be dismissed or otherwise removed. So the disciplinary process is first step, and also as a result, that person can be removed from office or dismissed. Now, a person has been dismissed or removed from office after they have been found guilty or wanting, they will be disqualified from holding any other state office. So this is like a do or die. It's like first impression is everything. So when you commit, there is no second chances. When you compromise the public interest, when you demean the office, when you engage in conflict of interest, that is it. Once dismissed, it's a final decision, and it's also futuristic in that it will buy from vying for any state office in the future. So moving on to financial probity of state officers. Now this is where it gets a bit interesting, because it makes sense when it comes to financial, surveillance. So this is where under Article 76, state officers have been given limitations on the kind of gifts or favors they can accept, and their bank accounts also, where they can hold a bank account, where they can hold money. So it's quite restrictive. Article 76 says a gift or donation to a state officer on a public or official occasion is a gift to the Republic. So that makes sense. You can't accept gifts for your own use or favors. It will be delivered to the state unless exempted under an act of parliament. So where you have maybe, let's say, an ambassador to Kenya visiting a foreign country on his duty, and they receive a gift, it's seen as a gift to the Republic, not to himself or herself. And this gift must be delivered. You must account for it. You can't keep quiet about it. Now, a state officer shall not maintain a bank account outside Kenya except in accordance with an act of parliament. So you see, you can't even hold any account in a foreign country unless, of course, it's in accordance with rules that are given by an act of parliament. Now, they will not also seek or accept a personal loan or benefit in circumstances which compromise the integrity of the state officer. So it's quite restrictive. Financial restrictions which are being imposed on a state officer are outlined under Article 76 of the Constitution. Now, let's move on to restriction on activities. So it's not only financial restrictions, but we have also, you have also restrictions on activities, which makes sense. Under Article 77, a full-time state officer shall not participate in any other gainful employment. All right. So you can't have a side hustle or business if you are full time, because obviously your time and attention is required. Okay, I don't know. I'm not gonna give my opinion on this one. Now, Article 2, any appointed state officer shall not hold office in a political party. This makes sense because, as we said, you must be impartial and you must be unbiased when you're making your decisions. And one way of doing that is to make sure you are not affiliated, like you are not holding any active office, okay, in any political party. All right. A retired state officer who is receiving a pension from public funds shall not hold more than 2 concurrent remunerative positions as chairperson, director, or employee of a company owned or controlled by the state or a state organ. Okay. Okay, I don't get this, but maybe let's just move on. A retired state officer shall not receive remuneration from public funds other than as contemplated in clause 3. Okay, now moving on to citizenship and leadership. Now this is the part where we see that only a citizen of Kenya can be a state officer. So Article 78 says a person is not eligible for election or appointment to a state office unless the person is a citizen of Kenya. That is obvious. A state officer or a member of the defense forces shall not hold dual citizenship. This is also obvious in what it's trying to achieve. As you can see here, you must be focused on serving the public and protect the dignity of the nation. And to do that, you must have like some kind of patriotic loyalty to the country that is your home. So you do not hold a dual citizenship. Clauses 1 and 2 do not apply to judges and members of commissions. Okay. So judges and members of commissions, this means that judges can also be foreigners, and members of commissions, like maybe the Human Rights Commission, Kenya National Human Rights Commission. We can have foreigners there. We can also have people who hold dual citizenship. Okay. Judges and members of commission, or any person who has been made a citizen of another country by operation of that country's law without ability to opt out. So where the person has been subjected to, I don't know, I have no experience in this, but maybe all I know is that some countries will tell you to, when you choose to be their citizen, you have to renounce other citizenships in other countries. So maybe in such an instance where a judge or a member of a commission or any state officer has been told to renounce, by operation of the law, and he has no choice to exit from that or to opt out. Okay, so moving on. Legislation to establish the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. So after we have seen what authority means and the principles that are supposed to be guiding state officers in doing their business, and the process of swearing in, conduct of carrying themselves and their business, financial restrictions, activities that are restricted for them, the requirement of citizenship. Okay, now we see that there is a need to establish a legislation to control corruption when a state officer is carrying out their job. So this is under Article 79. Parliament shall enact legislation to establish an independent ethics and anti-corruption commission, which shall be and have the status and powers of a commission under Chapter 15, for purposes of ensuring compliance with and enforcement of the provisions of this chapter. So there is an ethics and anti-corruption commission that is provided for under Article 79. Okay, I want to point out that the Constitution of Kenya is the basic law from which all other primary laws are derived. Okay, so this means that if you go through the Constitution, you'll see that it provides that Parliament should enact a certain act for citizenship, a certain act for in this case for corruption, anti-corruption, a certain act for community land, to regulate community land. So there is these are instructions, and the Constitution cannot discuss everything inside here. Otherwise, it would have been a huge book. Okay, very hard to navigate through. So that is why there is a provision for every subject matter. So there's an act of parliament that will discuss in depth every subject matter which the Constitution instructs or provides. Okay, for that. So legislation on leadership under Article 80, Parliament shall enact legislation establishing procedures and mechanisms for the effective administration of this chapter which we have read today, and prescribing penalties in addition to penalties referred to Article 75 that may be imposed when a state officer contravenes the restrictions imposed on them, either financial or in their business or activities. Okay, so we discussed that there was a disciplinary procedure. So the Constitution doesn't say more about it, but it provides that the Parliament shall enact an act to discuss and provide for that, for the punishment or penalties for the disciplinary process and everything. Now, providing for the application of this chapter with the necessary modifications to public officers, making any other provision necessary. So it is up to the Parliament. And I think these acts already exist, all of them, if not all, most of them, because this constitution was passed in 2010. So 2010 and 2021, that's a long time. So most of these acts that we'll find discussed or given here would have been already passed and are in force. So that is chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. All you need to know is that it's more about service to the people. It's more about carrying yourself as a state officer with dignity and knowing that you don't represent yourself, but you represent the office you are holding and the interests of the highest good of the Kenyan people. And there are things you shouldn't do, like we saw, like holding bank accounts in foreign countries or receiving gifts for yourself, okay? And all those other things like holding offices in political parties. All these restrictions are there to make sure that you understand that the office you're holding is not just any other office, but it's something that is noble and uh, it's basically a calling. It's not just an ordinary job in an organization or a company. It's something that is way more than your personal life. It's about the people. So everything we have seen, the process of swearing in is also to solemnize or to make this serious, okay? So you're affirming or swearing to serve the people and the highest good and not just your own personal interest. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a sneak peek into the Constitution of Kenya. I will post more videos on the Constitution of Kenya in later, okay, just so we can see what this basic and fundamental document or legislation is all about. Thank you.